Hadirin sekalian, seperti yang sedia maklum, pada petang ini kita akan meneruskan lagi taklimat yang bertajuk Kajian Kes, Penerbitan dan Persediaan VIVA. Terlebih dahulu, izinkan saya untuk membaca secara ringkas latar belakang penceramah kita pada petang ini. Profesor Madya Teknologis Dr. Bala Muralitra, anak lelaki Balakrishnan merupakan Timbalan Dekan Penyelidikan dan Inovasi di Fakulti Seni Kelestarian dan Industri Kreatif Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Beliau merupakan pakar dalam penyelidikan transdisiplin yang menggabungkan pengajian kreatif pendidikan, pendidikan STEM dan etika serta kelestarian. Dan hasil penyelidikan tersebut telah membawa paradigma baharu dalam pengajian pendidikan sains sosial. Aktiviti penyelidikan beliau telah berjaya mendapat pembiayaan penyelidikan di peringkat nasional dan antarabangsa, serta menghasilkan penerbitan jurnal berimpak tinggi yang diindeks dalam Web of Science dan Scopus. Tanpa membuang masa, saya menjemput dan mempersilakan Yang Berusaha Profesor Madya Teknologis Dr. Bala untuk menyampaikan perkongsian beliau. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
Terima kasih Tuan Moderator. Terima kasih di atas juga untuk mengenalkan diri saya kepada semua peserta. Alright, dan selamat tengah hari kepada selamat petang kepada semua peserta-peserta. Saya rasa dalam 2 jam yang ini kita akan cuba merangkumkan ketiga aspek yang penting dalam sesuatu kajian. Okay? Dari segi tak kisahlah kalau iaitu ianya dari PhD level ataupun master's level. Okay, so throughout my presentation today, I really hope that I'm able to continue in English because most of the fundamental elements and fundamental concept is usually have been actually discussed in English. So it will be better for me to actually present in English so that I'm not actually, when I translate it to Malay language, it will may cause some kind of differences in meaning. All right. So therefore, I would like to actually start my presentation today with the first part of my presentation will be on the case studies. All right. So as you all know that we all are going to actually do our PhD or at the same time masters. Am I right? Is it all of you here are PhDs going to pursue your study in PhD, or there are also some of you in masters? Yes, all right. So what is actually PhD and what is actually masters? All right. Some of you are actually there will be some confusions, right? Confusing here in terms of to understand what is actually a master student need to do and what a PhD student need to do. All right. So master student, basically, you are going to look into a practical implications of a study that you're going to do, right? So your concentration will be more towards practical implication. While what is actually PhD means? PhD here, you have to combine theoretical implication or what we call theoretical contribution and practical implication, which you combine this together, which you will be opening a new branch of knowledge in your discipline area. Alright, so that is what we call PhD. So the responsibility for a PhD is more, alright, and little bit difficult compared to masters, but it is not so difficult, but little bit challenging, I would say. Okay, I shouldn't use the word difficult. Okay, it is a little bit challenging, right, compared to masters. All right, so that is why we have to actually this is how we distinguish these two elements. Okay, this main component of masters and what is PhD, right? So if you are PhD candidate, then you have to know that whatever that you're going to do, that must be based on they must be based on a certain problem that you're going to do, and that problem will actually germinate the research questions which will be aligning with the research objective. That is the overall, the concept of study that you will be doing. So when you are actually doing any kind of research, this can be for masters. Okay, this is for masters and PhD students, that I would like to say here. Okay, when you start to do that, all right, when you start actually doing that, what will happen is that the main element that you must actually tackle is the problem statement. All right, so you actually, if you have that strongly, all right, and efficiently, then your study will be very smooth. All right, and you can graduate on time for sure. I would say that the issue here is that you don't have a good problem statement. If you don't have a good problem statement, then it is actually a haywire thing. So do not actually look into your study area, okay, from the perspective of very much fundamental, but it must be very much mostly, it should be a problem based, right? So try to actually get a problem statement, all right, a problem or issue, then you bring it into a few research questions that will be actually reflected to a research objective. When you're having these three things, perfect, okay, then you shouldn't have any problem. All right, okay, so that is why, okay, before I start my presentation, I'm actually giving you this introduction so that you have in your mind already what kind of a problem or issue that you're going to tackle, all right, for your study, for your research, basically. It can be for your master's or you can be for a PhD. But as I already told you, for masters will be more on practical implications, while for the PhDs will be more towards theoretical plus practical implication, right? So let us start with the case studies, right? So what is case study basically? So let me just open up the chat box so that I can see a few. Okay, so don't worry about your camera and so on, because I cannot see anyone from my presentation, okay, slide here. So don't worry, right? Once I off my presentation slide, then only I can see all of you. So don't worry about your camera, whether it's on or off, okay? Do not actually worry about that, all right? So I can see that some of you are saying about, is there any school of thought preparing problem statement? Okay. All right, how to write a good problem statement. Okay, let me, maybe we can actually discuss this at the end. Okay, let me just go through first, okay, the slides, because I will be having, I already set up a few, slots here. So maybe during the Q&A slot, we can actually delve into this. So let us look into the case study first, right? So what is the differences, okay, of the different paradigm of case studies that we can actually do? So mostly nowadays, I can see here that, all right, most of the PhD candidate or master's candidate, they are trying to look into a problem, all right, then they try to develop something to do an intervention, then they are actually going to, do the study, all right. So this is how the trend is going nowadays, right? The trend nowadays is mostly they are actually going to develop a module or develop a technological educational tool, okay, whatever, all right, that related to the education or on the particular research that they are doing, then they are going to do a research on that, right? So that is the trend is going on, right? And mostly the research design that they are using is the DDR, okay, design and development research, right? But some of you might actually take case studies as your study design, so that you can, in order to pursue your master's or your PhD. So these slides can help you to get some information about these case studies. All right, so let us look into what is case studies actually about. So case study is an in-depth study of one person, group, or event. In a case study, nearly every aspect of the subject's life and history is analyzed to seek patterns and causes of behavior. Right? So basically, case study is actually to seek patterns and cause of behavior. All right. So in this particular case, you can see that case studies can be used in various fields, including psychology, medicine, education, anthropology, right, political science, and social work, right? So basically, as I know that all of you are from KPM, all right? So you all are teachers, basically. So your work will be more on concentrate on the educational case studies, all right? So the purpose of the case study is to learn as much as possible about an individual or a group, all right, so that the information can be generalized to many others. So one thing that is actually going to be a difficult on the case study is that to proving whether your study can be generalized or not. Okay, that is the only aspect that is actually become a disadvantage of a case study. So that is why you need a proper sampling method and selection of the samples so that you are able to generalize your findings. So that is the only thing is going to be a challenge for you. Other than that, case study is a good one, right? It's a good thing that you do, especially in education sector nowadays, because as you can see, there are so many problems that is happening surrounding us that is not being solved yet effectively. So these case studies can actually do that, right? So you can actually, all right, do a case studies in a different type of case study, which I'm going to explain later. All right. So the detailed examination of a single example of a class of phenomena. Okay. A case study cannot provide reliable information about the product class. Okay. This is the disadvantage that I have mentioned to you. So taking just a small sample size cannot actually provide reliable information on a broader level. So this is where we call it as a generalization of issue, right? But it may be useful in the preliminary stage of the investigation, all right? So let's say in your problem statement, there are not much of reference to justify your problem, all right? You don't able to, all right? In Tanjung Malik here also we are having a hujan lebat, all right? So thank you for informing that as well. Right? Okay, so I think hopefully, okay, all of you can hear me clearly. Is it okay? All right, all right, good. So the preliminary stage of investigation, let's say you don't have a proper justification for your issue or the problem that you put upfront in your, for your research, then this, preliminary case study can help you to justify that, right? So usually I would actually encourage my students to do that. Why? Because it will take more time to do that, all right? So why not, when you actually do a case a study, make sure you have a viable, justifiable, all right, and a strong problem or issue to study, right? So that is where you need to have a problem that can be generalized first. The second, it is a study that has been conducted, okay, by many researchers from a different perspective, so that you have a good justification and reference to back you up for your issue or problems that you have put in your report, okay, during your proposal defense or your thesis writing and so on. Right? So this is the very important thing that you must bear in your mind, right? So you must justify properly each of the arguments, okay, that you are going to. All right? So a case study can have both strengths and weaknesses, as I already told you. So researcher must consider these pros and cons before deciding if this type of study is appropriate for their needs or not, right? So let's say you have a problem. You already know the problem can be solved through certain intervention. Then case study won't be a choice for you. The case study is when you want to go just want to know about the behavior and so on, so much on the surface level, then case study it is not a good one, right? So if you're going for a deeper understanding, then it is a good one, right? So make sure a case study is where you go for a deeper one, not at the surface level, yeah, right? Because a case study, the disadvantages, it is because of the generalization. So the generalization, one thing as I already told you, is the selection of the sample. One. The second one is about the deepness, the depth of the study. Right? So if you tackle these two things, then your case study is a good one. Right? So you must keep that in your mind before you move to the case study. Right? Okay. So in this thing, let us look into the pros and cons. Yeah. All right. So what are the pros of the case study here? Right? So basically, pros is allow researcher to collect a great deal of information, all right, and enable researcher to the chance to collect information on a rare and unusual cases. Because as you can see, let's say you are going to do something that related to a very special case, right? Let's say to, within the some rural area students or the students with special needs, and then this is a good one, right? Then permits researcher to develop hypotheses that can be explored in experimental research, extending the research basically, right? So basically, you are actually, in this case study, you have to come with certain hypotheses, all right? Then you can actually do the other research to extend it, right? Then what is the cons, basically, the disadvantages of these case studies? Basically, it cannot necessarily be generalized. This is where I told you it can be generalized when you have a good sample size, a proper sampling method is used first. Second, if you cannot demonstrate cause and effect for sure, because you don't do any kind of intervention, so that is where the effect won't be seen, right? Then it can lead to biasness as well, because mostly when you talk about one group of people, then you are just focusing on that, then it may lead to biasness. But that is, biasness, cause and effect, everything can be controlled, right? Everything can be controlled when you're actually going for the in-depth study. So that is why I told you, when you have these two things as a backup, then you can actually avoid these cons of the case study. One is that I already told you, the selection of the sample. Then secondly is the depth of the study. If you have these two, then that should be good, that you already can go for the case study. All right? Okay. So I really hope that you understand the how to tackle the disadvantages of the case studies as well. All right? So okay. Now let us go into the types of case study. There are, if you look into, if you Google out, okay, if you just Google up types of case study, then it will be more and more case studies, types of case studies that you can actually find out. But usually there are three main types of case studies, right? There are three. Then after that there is branches, okay, for other types. So let me just go to the main one here, because when you know the main one, the branches is easily you can understand, right? Because okay, we don't have much time, right? I have to cover all the three main aspects, all right? Three main aspects, so I cannot go very deep, but I'm able to actually go at the surface level here, but you can actually understand it, all right? So let us look into the types of case study. The first case study is the types of the what we call as the descriptive case study, right? So when you actually go for a descriptive case study, this involves starting with the descriptive theory, right? So the subjects are then observed and the information gathered is compared to the pre-existing theory, right? So this is how we call it as a descriptive. So in this thing, you can actually use a theory or a model, correct? So you must always remember, all right, ladies and gentlemen, all right, when you're actually doing a study for your master's or your PhD, right, after you got your problem, your research questions, and your research objective, you will be automatically, you are actually open up the path for two main things. One is that you are able to easily find what are the research design and the research method that you can use. Alright? Because if you want to know how to find which suitable research method and research design, just look into your research question. Then you understand, oh, this is how I can actually do my study so that I can answer the research question. That's it, methodology. Okay? And second, all right, it is open up for the theory or theories that is actually applicable to your study. Right? So how we can actually find the theories or theory, okay, or model, okay, that you can use. This is where you can actually start looking into the variables of the variables that you stated in your research questions and also your research objective. Basically, research question, research objective will be merged. Okay, so basically, you just look into research question, look into the variables. Right? These variables will actually lead you to the correct theory that you should use. Right? So that will be the fundamental thing that can help you to get to the study focus. Alright? So that is why, okay, in this type of case study here, if you actually already know the theory, then you are actually trying to test the theory or the model, then this is what we call as a descriptive. So the testing of the model or the theory, it can be done through quantitative or qualitative way. Okay? It can be both of it or either one. Alright? Then we have another one, a type of case study, what we call exploratory case study. Exploratory is, okay, the explanation has been given here. These are sometimes used as a prelude to further, more in-depth research, right? So where we can actually go for an exploratory study is when you are actually want to find out why a certain thing happened, right? Why these students are actually behaving in this way. Then that is good for you to go for a qualitative, not quantitative. All right? Because you're going to answer the research question why. Okay? When you actually put the research question why, then automatically it will be leading you to do the qualitative study. Right? So that is how you actually have to think about your research method and your research design. So that's why I told you, when you have your problem, when you have a good research question, a research objective, that three things can help you to define your methodology and define your theory. Okay, it will be very easy for you. Okay, the journey of your PhD and your master's will be very, very easy. All right, so that is how you have to do it. Yeah, all right. So for exploratory case study, basic, for sure, it will be a qualitative research. All right. Then we have an explanatory research case study, right? So these are often used to do a causal investigation, that means relationship investigation. In other words, researchers are interested in looking at factors that may have caused certain things to occur. All right. So let's say you already know through a study that this thing happened and you want to actually get to know more about it, then what you will be doing is that some of it you will be actually, all right, you will be actually trying to explain the phenomena. So in order to explain that particular phenomena, for example, you will be quantifying the motivation or the academic performance of the student. Then after that, you want to know about in depth why the students are actually performing better or worse in this particular certain case. Then what you need to do, for sure, you need to actually do some interview or observation, right? So in this particular case, then explanatory case study, it is suitable for you to use mixed method, right? So that is how you will be using this kind of a research design for the different types of a case study. So for descriptive, it is that you can use either quantitative or qualitative. Exploratory, for sure, is a qualitative paradigm. Then explanatory, it is basically you will be using a mixed method. So after that, you will be having, okay, under the branches of it, you will be having like an instrumental case study, instrumental case study, collective case study, and so on and so forth. Right? So this is very fundamental. Are the three fundamental case studies. So look back at your research proposal that you have submitted to your before you got your HLP. Look whether which type of case study it is actually fit into, right? Then you are able to move forward, right? Okay, so this is the types of the case study that we will be having. So let me also discuss with you what the mechanisms of the case study, how we actually going to do a case study, right? So first of all, before you actually start to do a case study, it is important for you to answer the question, what is being studied? So in this particular question, right, you have to describe the research problem and describe the subject of the analysis, basically the case you have chosen to address the problem. All right. So basically, you have to answer the question of what is actually being studied, right? So let's say in the case of let's say a student's motivation. So you are actually studying two main things: the motivation and also the students themselves. Then that is the motivation is basically the research problem, okay, the issues, and the subject is the student, right? So these are the two things that you may need to be explained well, right? Then why is this topic important to investigate? You have to actually explain that as well, right? So you have to describe the significance of the research problem and state why the case study design and the subject of the analysis that the study is designed around is appropriate in addressing the problem, right? So you have to actually describe the significance, and also you have to actually mention, right, why a case study design and the subject of the analysis is become the selection for you to actually answer that particular research questions, right? Why you chose a student, okay, a group of people from, for example, from the state of Perak, right? Why it is not Penang? Why it is not Johor? You have to explain that, right? Not only the significance, but you need to also know why you have chosen this, okay, particular state and so on. Then what did we know about this topic before I did this study? You have to actually explain that as well. All right. So you need to actually provide a strong background that helps the reader into the more in-depth literature review to follow. All right. So you have to actually lead the reader. So who's going to be your reader basically? The first-hand reader will be your supervisor and your co-supervisor. Then later it will be the examiners. Okay. Maybe you have a proposal defense, then pre-VIVA, then VIVA. So the examiners will be reading your literature review. So that is why, okay, when I actually mentioned first, okay, in the introduction just now about the problem statement, it is important for you to have a strong justification that is supported with a strong references. So this is the very important thing. So the third mechanism here, the third particular point here can be supported when you have a proper, appropriate, and reasoned literature to support every single statement of the issues that you're trying to bring out in your study, right? That will be the third one. Then the fourth one will be how will this study advance new knowledge or new ways of understanding? Okay, so you have to explain why your case study will be suitable in helping to expand knowledge and understanding about the research problem. So as I already told you, for master student, you have to talk about the practical implication. Okay. Then for PhD student, for sure, you have to talk about the contribution to the theory, the theoretical implication, okay, especially. Then for sure, they must be come together with the practical implication that will be leading to a new branch of knowledge, right? So that is what we call as a PhD. Right? Then masters, it is okay for you just to look into the practical implication. But it is all depends on your supervisor, right? So yes, okay. Some of the supervisor will say, no, masters also must discuss about theory. Yes, then you have to follow them. Okay. So it's all highly depends on the understanding of the differences between masters and the PhD, because this is a human factor involved as well. All right. So this is the mechanism of the case study that you need to actually follow and able to answer all these questions so that you have a strong, justifiable case study to be presented for your research, right? Whether it can be master or PhD. Right? So this is the things that I would like to discuss about the case study before I move to the publication. All right. So let us look into a few questions from. I think some of you are having a few questions just now. So before I move to the thing, okay, let me find out. Okay, what are the questions that we post here related to the case study? Most of the chat box is about hujan lebat, line tak clear. But okay, good. How to write a good problem statement? Okay, so how to write a good problem statement? As I already told you, a good problem statement is whereby statements that you put, the issues that you put, the argument that you put in your problem statement is strongly justified. What I mean by strongly justified, it means there is an evidence, right? And that evidence is the new evidence. Okay? Always remember this one thing. Maybe I can share with you all of you here. All right. When you put in the references in your problem statement, make sure the references that you put in your problem statement, if you are actually trying to bring the issue, okay, when you want to introduce the issue, discuss about the issue, make sure it is not more than 5 years from today. That means today is 2023, right? All right. So it must be beyond 2018. Okay, the references that you put. Otherwise, okay, that particular problem is already an outdated problem, right? So bear that in mind. Okay. So I think maybe one Nur Hafiza, maybe I just able to touch. Okay, I'm able to answer your question just now. How to write a good problem statement? Again, in terms of references, put the reason references. It must be justifiable, all right, and proper evidences, all right, must be presented so that it can be a good problem statement. So I hope that I answer your question, Madam. Okay, is there any different school of thoughts when preparing the problem statement? I don't think so. There is a different school of thoughts. It's just about the arrangement of the what we call the structure of the problem statement. Okay? But most of us as a researcher, we know that problem statement is what I already told you. Right? I think I'm a little bit off track. Okay, suppose I have to talk about case study, not problem statement. Okay. A research method to gain a better understanding. Case study involved. Yeah, I don't know who is actually just. Maybe you are trying to. Okay, what are the criteria to be selected as sampling group? Okay, this is K. Shan Shen. Okay, so actually the criteria to be selected as a sampling, basically, I'm not sure why you ask about sampling group. All right, but sampling method. Okay, what are the criteria? It's all highly depends on your research question. All right, or basically I will be bringing you forward a bit. Who is your stakeholder for the study? That will be the main concern that you need to put, okay, as the main criteria for your selection of your sampling, right? As your sample, right? And the sampling method is highly depends on your research question, right? That will be actually determining whether you're going for a random sampling, satisfied sampling, whatever sampling related to your research method. All right. So I really hope that I answer your question. Tej Shanshin. Right. You are asked again the target should be very special or very common. All right. I'm not sure whether you say very special or very common here. I think I can understand it should be general or specific. Okay. This is another tips that I like to give to all the PhD students. As possible, go for a specific issue, because you not PhD or masters are actually not to solve world problem, right? So do not do so many things or so many things until you are lost. Okay, I can see some of the PhD students like to do so many things, want to solve so many aspects of the elements that is related to a certain problem, right? So why not you try to be specific, right? That will be a good one, right? So that is what I would like to advise to all of you. Be specific in the problem that you are going to solve, right? Okay, not sure. Okay, I really hope that all of you are good. Sorry, I have to see so many messages here. Okay, so many messages, clear, very clear. Okay, I really hope that the message about that. Okay, so someone asked me, Intan Zubaida, okay, asked me, how about experimental research? Okay, experimental research is where, okay, you develop something, an intervention, then you're doing an experiment towards it to find out the effectiveness of it. Okay, one Intan, sorry, Intan, all right. So that is what we call experiment. All right. So this is whereby, okay, that is also can be a case study. All right. So you're trying to look into one particular group of students, then you already found out that the case, okay, from the case study that you did, there is a problem. Then you want to actually solve the problem through a certain intervention. Then that certain intervention will be one of the research design. Okay, that particular research design can be an experimental research. All right. So this is what we call it as an experimental research. So I hope that I answer your question here. All right. Okay. All right. So someone said, okay, now I understand. So Ryan, okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you are able to get something from this presentation here. Okay, Ivina asked me, if the problem statement is about to study student and teacher behavior, will the case study can be used? Yes. Okay, but as I already told you, the behavior at the surface level cannot. Okay, you must go deep. Okay, just to say about behavior only, it is not good. Okay, you must go in depth, right? So there is a certain things that is actually looking into their behavior. Okay, maybe perhaps you're talking about the psychological point of view of the behavior, or maybe you're talking about the physiological point of the behavior. So these are the things that you need to be studied. So that's why I say it must be quite deep, right? The depth of the study must be there, right? You just cannot say, okay, I'm studying about the behavior, that's all, right? That won't be actually fit into the case studies. It can be a case study, but the issue will be when you want to generalize it, right? So that is where you will be stuck, right? So you cannot generalize it. You can say, okay, this study is going to contribute this particular thing for only this for particular school only, or for this particular state only. You cannot say this is for Malaysia, all right? So you have to be very careful. Okay, if behavior from the case study won't be suitable. No. I never said that. I said if you talk about behavior, all right, it can be a case study, but the behavior must be good, very. Okay, therefore, you cannot just say at the surface level of that, right? Okay, salam hormat. Okay, faham. Okay, maybe this one question. Maybe I missed out a few questions here. All right. What is the difference between pilot study and case study? So pilot study is the study that you do prior of a certain study in order to get the reliability of your PERSEDIAAN, right? Or that is what we call that case study can be one of your pre-study. All right. If your problem statement is not that, just it have no strong justification, there is no strong evidences to support it, then you can do a pre-study. Okay? You can do a pre-study. Okay, you can use the mechanism of the case study as your pre-study to support the hypothesis. Okay, that you're going to put. Okay, to generate the hypothesis, right? To generate the evidences. Then that is what I meant. As pilot study is basically used when you have a set of questionnaire, right? Then you're going to look into the reliability and the validity. Reliability, usually you use the reliability of that particular questionnaires. Maybe you have a interview questions, for example, then pilot studies to actually validate whether this particular interview questions are actually appropriate or not. Okay, so this is the things that you do for the pilot study, right? So case study is totally different paradigm. Pilot study is a different, right? So I really hope that I answered your question, Nur Amira. Okay, if the reference we are looking for within 2018 to 2020 frame are not available, still other ways to conduct the literature. All right. Okay. So this is a very big thing. Actually, that's why I say when you are actually saying there is no evidences, there is no references to support the problem within that particular time frame, then you have to revisit whether that is the problem. Okay, that is the problem that you're going to study or not. All right. So you need to actually do self reflection forward. All right. So I really hope that I answered the question just now. Muhammad Shafi'i, all right. Okay. And after that, basically, case study doesn't solve the problem, but identify what is the problem. Is it correct? Okay. It is actually not solve the problem. Yes, it is identifying what is the problem, and from the findings that you got, you can actually come with the proposed solutions. Okay, you can give the proposed solution, such as guideline, such as framework, right? So that is what the end product of the case study, right? So did I answer all your questions? Okay, Cik Azman? Okay, good. All right. Okay, so someone asked me, Raja Muhammad Khairuddin, I'm planning to evaluate intervention towards engineering students' engagement for a certain topic. Okay, so it's like a rule of thumb. How long should I supposed to be exposed to intervention? Okay, all right. So this is all highly depends on the module's content. Okay, if the module content is short, then it can be within 1 week or 2 weeks, or maybe a few days, right? That is be okay. If it's a very long module, then you should give some time. Okay, for example, let's say it highly depends again, sir, over here. All right, depend. Let's say the content is short content, then you can go for a days, right? If it's content quite long, then you can go for a week. So there is no rule of thumb, but I would say it is all depends on your due diligence, whether the students are really able to absorb that particular thing or not, right? Then that will be a good idea. Okay, do not fix. Okay, if module, if you give it the intervention, it should be hours, or there should be 3 hours, or there should be 4 hours. No, right? So it depends on the content of that module hours. All right. Then through your experience, how do you think whether the students able to absorb how long they should be, right? Be given the time to absorb the content of the module. Okay, that would be a good idea, rather than going for the rule of thumb and so on, right? So I hope that I am able to answer your question here. many questions okay, until I have to actually stop here. All right, I will come back later. All right, so I come back later. Is it okay? All right. So because I have a publication thing, okay, that I have to go on. I know all of you have so many questions, okay, to ask. Okay, I think if let's say we are actually doing for many hours also, it won't be finishing, right? Because we have so many students here, so many candidates here, so many questions. All right, so let us go into the second part of this particular presentation about publication basically. All right, so I won't go very deep into publication, but I will just give you the introduction about publication, why publication is so important, what are the things that you should do for get your paper to be published. Right, as you all know that, right, publishing an article is important, depends on the university, right? So some of you will be in UPC, some of you will be pursuing your study in UPM and other universities as well. So go back and look back into their requirements so that you can well prepare yourself in terms of the publication. All right. In the case of UPSI here in UPC here, we asking for 2 referring articles, right? Only referring articles that published in any kind of index journal that published maybe within the time of your study, or it can go beyond it. But you can go beyond it, but it depends on whether how long it will take. Okay, but usually we just need 2 referring articles indexed in any journal. Okay, journals that index in any database, right? So I'm not sure about the other universities. Certain universities we are asking for 1 Scopus index, another one can be any indexed journal. So that is why you have to well prepare yourself today so that you can aim for that. For masters, for example, all right, for masters and for UPSIS requirement, it should be 1 referring article, okay, in any indexed journal. So that is what is the requirement for UPSI. But I'm not sure about the others. So go back and look back into your respective universities. So I'm not sure all of you will be studying in UPSI or not, right? Okay, some of you will be studying at different universities. All right. So publish your paper is very important. Why? Right? Because as you cannot accomplish your research without publishing. Right? So you cannot accomplish your research without publishing because it will be a use, I would say, it's a waste of time. Okay, you are actually spending so much of your, your energy and your time to pursue your PhD or masters, but without publishing. Because publishing is a fundamental thing for an academician, for a researcher, right? So as a researcher, you need to publish articles, right? So the effective way for others to learn about your work is through your published articles. That is why you need to actually publish your articles. Otherwise, then how people know you that you are actually expert in certain area? For example, Mr. Raja just now. All right. Who knows he's in engineering education like me? Okay, I'm also actually I did my PhD in engineering education, right? Because I'm an engineer basically, right? But somehow when I joined UPSI, then my area of study has been evolved to a different area. But initially, it is in engineering education, right? So, so if you are actually doing some kind of engineering education, then who knows you are actually an engineering education expert just by producing your thesis? No, because your thesis is just going to be stored in the library. So how many of them going to refer to your thesis? Right? Even it is nowadays is in online databases, the thesis will be available online, but it is not enough. So you need to actually produce articles so that you can actually area to the others, right? So if you don't publish, other researchers cannot build on your work. It will be as you never did the research, right? Because that is the importance of the article writing. So that is why you need to actually establish yourself as an establish as an expert. So when you actually establish as an expert, you need to publish articles, right? So just by last time we have a thesis as the base, but nowadays it is about research article, right? So the research article will establish yourself as an expert. And moreover, most of you are here are actually doing PhD, right? So you can see that what is the use of doing PhD, all right, without publishing any article, then not establishing yourself as an expert, right? So PhD means you are an expert, right? When I call you Dr. Raja, for example, right? So you will feel happy, right? Okay, you feel very happy. But what is the use if you just have doctor, that's it, without do any article writing about the area of your research, right? So that is why my advice to all of you also, do not stop doing research, do not stop, writing articles after your PhD or after your master's and so on. Keep on writing, keep on doing some kind of a work that related into your study area, so that you can actually be seen as an expert in that particular area of study, right? So that is why I say that publication is important. So we want you all to become the subject matter expert. So that is why the Malaysian government spends so much of money, right, to actually give you this particular scholarship, so that you can actually become the expert in that certain area, right? So we don't want just you to have the name of doctor in front of you, but we want all of you to become expert in the research area that you're doing. Yeah, all right, good. Yeah, I can see a lot of thumbs up. The thumbs up, I'm not sure whether it is for the link kehadiran or not, all right, or is it for my statement? Okay, I'm not sure for the thumbs up here. Yeah, I can see so many thumbs up by actually commenting here. All right. So because at the end of the day, what is very important? The important thing is the link to Aderan, right? Okay. So I'm also looking forward for that every time when I'm actually attending any kind of workshops and so on. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So publish your paper is very important. Become an expert in that area of your study, right? So that it will be a good one. Yeah. Okay. So that is the why publishing paper is your important. So let us look into the how you can start to actually publish paper, how you can start writing your articles, right? So basically, as I already told you, right now it is not a good time for you to write any article. Why? Because you are still actually accumulating the research skills, right? You're still accumulating the research skills. So your research skills are essential for getting articles to be published, basically, right? So what I will tell you to all of you, before you start writing article, read a lot of articles. Okay, read a lot of articles, read a lot of good articles, in your area of study. Then that particular articles, that you feel that this is so good, that particular article is so good, then, all right, make that particular few articles as your direction to write your own article. Okay, follow their style of writing. Okay, how do they actually introduce the problem? How they actually write down the literature review? How they actually present the methodology? Okay, so you actually do some kind of analysis from them, right? So read a lot of articles. Okay, choose a few that you can actually use as an example. Follow the style of writing. Okay, that actually will be helpful for you to write your articles for your study, so that you can accomplish your PhD and for the futures. Right? So that will be the goal. So develop a good strategy. That is very important. All right. Develop a good strategy is very, very important. Because why? Because as you can see, in writing article, it will consume more time. Right? Because writing article, it is not equivalent to writing a thesis. Writing article is somehow quite different from writing a thesis, right? So you have to develop a good strategy in terms of what I say, read a lot of articles, follow a few, okay, select a few that can be a base for you to write your own article, then, all right, pursue that, right? Pursue that, okay? So that is how it should. How suddenly I can see the question is being brought up, okay? How you can identify it's a good article? Okay, is it a Q1 article? Yes, it's the Q1 article. It has been in the Scopus Q1, then it is a good article. Usually it will be a good article, right? But I would say any article that actually inspired you, all right, that is also can be considered as the good article for you to follow their way of writing, right? So that is the basic thing that you have to actually get when you are actually doing your literature reviews and so on. So right now you are doing your literature review, right? So once you're already in the system of doing the study, you already start collecting the the references and so on. So this is the time you study, you analyze how they actually do write the articles and so on. Okay, from there you move on. All right. So that is how you should do your article writing. Yeah. Okay, this is for the novice writers. Okay, this is the advice that I will give for the novice writers basically. So while writing, make sure your citations are well balanced, current, and relevant. All right. So this is why I have actually also just now mentioned that thesis writing is totally different from article writing, because article writing is basically they want to see something different, right? Because you will be having a different way of reviewing compared to thesis, right? So it must be well balanced, it must be current, okay, except for theories and model, right? And also it must be relevant. Okay, so the citations that you put, okay, during your article writing, make sure you have these three components. All right, then it will be a good one, right? So that will be a very fundamental thing that I would like to suggest to you when you are actually writing article, and what are how the citation should be put into the article. Okay, so basically the writing process will having these three stages. One is pre-writing. It is the throw of an idea. Okay, you already have some kind of mind map or some kind of a framework how you're going to actually do the pre-writing. Okay, what you're going to actually put in the article. Then you are going to write. All right. After writing, then you will be doing some kind of a revision. Okay, after you will be giving it to your supervisor. The supervisor might have some different thoughts. Okay, maybe some ideas so that they can actually share with you. So these are the three aspects of a writing process. But why there will be so much of an iterative thing here, right? So that is why I say to you just now, in writing process, it is not systematic. It is not. After pre-writing, you do the writing, then revision. Okay, after the revision, you start to go and submit to the journal. All right. There will be so much of an iterative process will happen. That means after when you actually writing, suddenly you will thinking, oh, maybe I want to put something like this. Okay. So then you have to go to the pre-writing stages. So after you finish all the thing, then you give it to your friend, then your friend maybe comment a few things. And then you have to write back, right? So these are the things that you have to go and do and do. So there is no one single stage, all right, or systematic process when you're doing writing, but it is more iterative, right? So when you actually do writing, all right, article, publication, and so on, make sure you will be doing these three things, right? And make sure that it is an iterative process, right? It is not a systematic process, yeah? All right. Okay, so this is the basic thing about the writing process, yeah? So let me introduce you to the types of articles that you may actually submit to certain journals and so on. Okay, so the main one is the research article, right? So the findings of your article, you can present it. Okay, right? So you can present it in the as a research article. That is one. Second, you can have the concept paper, right? Concept paper means you are trying to bring the research questions. You bring the problem, then you bring the questions that emerged from the problem, and you do the study about that particular problem from the different references. All right. Then you come into a certain recommendation about that particular issue or the problem through the literatures analyzed. Okay, the analysis of the literature. This is what we call as a concept paper. So usually after your chapter 1 and chapter 2 done, okay, please try to write one article that is on the concept paper, right? We call it as a concept paper article, right? So that is one way for you to accomplish your GOT, right? So you don't need to actually wait until the end, then only you start writing article. Okay, that is why I think KPM also complained, okay, right? They say why the student will take more than 6 semester. Suppose within 6 semesters they can finish, all right, the overall PhD study, right? And most of the students are stuck into this article writing. Why? Because they don't have a good strategy. So that is why, all right, when you're finishing your proposal defense, if parallelly you do one concept paper, or another one is getting very popular nowadays because systematic literature review, right? This is similar to a concept paper, but SLR, okay, the systematic literature review, or we call it short form SLR paper, all right? This is what, okay, there is some kind of a methodology or mechanism that you must follow in order to do the literature analysis, all right? So that is the differences between the concept paper and SLR. Okay, SLR, they have a methodology for literature searching and analyzing. While for concept paper, they don't have that, right? It is more open. Okay, it is more open. So this is the differences. But when you ask which one is better, it depends. Okay, it all depends on your writing. Okay, how you actually wrote your article. Okay, a systematic literature review can be very, very worst paper if you write in a worst way. All right. So this is where you have to be careful when you do the writing. Yeah. All right. So why not? Okay. Within first, second semester, when you are actually already going for a proposal defense, go for a concept paper. Right. So for master student, I will start with concept paper. Yes. So you already finished one. All right. So you already finished, then that's it. Finish everything. All right. So go for a concept paper or SLR paper. Okay. Semester 1, semester 2. When you're doing in a semester 3, boom. Okay. Write an article. You already have one article there. All right. Then you finish until your findings. Then you do one research article. That's it. 2 articles done within 6 semesters. Right. So this is how you must develop the strategy. Okay, on doing. Then we also have what we call short communication. Certain journals, especially for science and engineering field, they have short communication. Right? This is another way of this is another type of article. Okay, of an article, and that can be submitted to a journal. So usually in the science and engineering field, we do have what we call short communication. Yeah. So I really hope that you're already able to know the types of research article that existing, right? Then you can already strategize from today in what you should achieve by end of your semester 2 or in the mid of your semester 3 and at the end of your semester 5. Okay, it depends on the data collections and so on. All right. So usually I will advise for PhD student, write at least 1 concept paper and 2 research articles. Right? Because the quantum of the work that you're doing for each of the objective is very huge, right? Okay, quite big. So you can actually divide the objective. Okay, let's say you have 4 objectives or 5 objectives, divide it into 2. Okay, make it article related to that objective 1 and 2, 1 research article, objective 3 and 4, another research article. Or let's say the quantum of work for each of the objective is huge. right, is huge, then you can have one objective, one research article, right? So it depends on the quantum, okay, one. Okay, so you strategize in that way, yeah. All right, good. And why for master student? You are no need to worry. You already have one article to write, right? Make it as a concept paper. Then, all right, then you can go for a research article after you finish your research and data analysis and so on, right? So this is how you should plan your research article, right? Okay, with that will be a good way for you to move forward, right? So this is the type of the research. Okay. So I really hope that you able to get some point from here so that you can start to strategize. Okay. All right. Good. Then you have a research article structure as like this. All right. So basically, in research article structure here, you will be having abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, acknowledgement, references. But when you look into the structure of the so-called of this particular framework here, okay, you can see that the abstract, it contains these four main elements, right? These four main elements, which is the problem statement, indication of the methodology, main findings and principal conclusion, right? Or I would put in a short word is the significance of the study. Okay, that is the abstraction content, right? Then in the article itself, should start with the introduction, right? And you can see in the introduction here, the way they put the introduction, it is like a funnel, right? It's like a inverted triangle, right? This is where when you're writing your introduction for your research article, make sure it is a funnel type. That means from general to specific. So that is how you should write your introduction when you write your research article, right? Then you have a literature review, right? That literature review is also very much from general scope to a specific scope. Then you have a methodology. So you see the methodology and result. How the structure of the methodology and results here? It's squared, right? Why? Because methodology and results, there is a systematic way of writing it. That means in methodology, you have to actually start with introducing the population, introducing the questionnaire, introducing the how you actually start to do the research and so on. So there is some kind of a systematic structure of methodology. So that is why it is a square type. The same thing goes for results, because results is basically highly depend on your research questions that you post in your article. So let's say you have 3 research questions for one research article here. All right. Then what will happen is that you're going to present the results of research question 1. Then secondly, present the research question 2. Third, present the research question 3. All right. So that is how you're going to structure it. So that is why it is a square. Right. Then you have a discussion. But I will advise all of you. All right. If let's say you are a novice writer, right? So I will please make sure that you. This is just my advice. It's not that you must take it as a mantra here. All right. That try to combine result and discussion together. So that means when you actually have one result, okay, then you discuss it, okay, on the spot. Then you have a second result, discuss it on the spot. So for novice writer, it is good to have results and discussion together. All right. Once you already become mature by, then you can have results and discussion in a different section. Right? Okay. Then in the discussion, you can see it has become like a triangle shape. Why? Because just now introduction is an inverted triangle, but discussion must be a triangle. Why? Because you will be actually reporting the specific results, then you're trying to link that into a general implication. So that is how you have to write the discussion in the research article, right? Then you have be having a conclusion, acknowledgement, and references, right? So I cannot go very deep because of the time constraint, but this is how technologies and these technologies, this is how a research article structure should be written, right? So if you, in your introduction, if it's out of shape, then you know something wrong in your writing. Okay, it must be inverted triangle shape, inverted triangle shape. While for discussion, it must be a triangle shape. That means specific to general. Introduction, in general to specific. That is how you should actually structure your writing. All right. If you structure your writing in this particular way, for sure, I would say your research article can be easily accepted. Okay? Easily accepted. I won't say just a normal index database, but I would say it is a scopus. Okay? You can go for a scopus article if you put the structure of your writing in this way. Okay, this is for the research article, for research article. So for concept paper, all right, you will be having abstract, you will be having the introduction, all right, and in literature review and discussion will be combined together. Why? Because methodology and results won't exist in concept paper. Okay, it won't exist in concept paper. While in systematic literature review paper, it will be having methodology and results, right? Then the discussion will be in a different way of discussion. It will be conceptual discussion rather than finding discussion. All right. So that is the differences between research article, concept paper, and systematic literature review paper. So I really hope that you can follow this way so that it will be helpful for you. All right. Okay. So I really hope that it is clear for you for the research publication, for the publication here. Right. So these are the indexed articles that which I mentioned to you just now, right? So basically we have my site, right? We have a my site indexed article. We have also ERA, the Excellence of Research Australia Index. We have Scopus and Web of Science. So usually I would say, let's say you are actually doing your research for Malaysia, right? Mostly your study will be based on Malaysia. And if you are actually looking for the references in Google Scholar, you might not get it. Why? Might get it, but not that much. Why? I can see from my experiences that most of the research that is in the Malaysian context, they are mostly parked in my site database. So why not you go and search at my site website? Okay, go to my site. Google my site, then get the article, right? Search at the my site website rather than Google Scholar. Okay, why? Because my site, okay, you can have articles in Bahasa Melayu as well, right? Why in Google Scholar, not most of these journals that actually publishing their articles in what we call them in Bahasa Melayu actually indexed it in Google Scholar, right? So but most of it, majority of the journal that is published in Bahasa Melayu should be cited in my site, should be indexed in my site. So go to my site website and check your articles there. Right, so check your references there. All right, okay. So that is how you do it. Okay, good. Some of you already done bookmark of my site, and some of you are very good sharing the website address of the my site as well. So that's why some of us are actually asking. So my research in Malaysia, not many I have to. Depends on Australia research, UK research. But I said, have you tried my site and search that? So when you put the my site, the keywords, it can be in English or Bahasa Melayu as well. So try both. Okay, when you actually want to get references from Malaysia context. Okay, God willing, you will get a few articles to support your study. All right. Okay, good. So that is the indexed article. Then, what are the rules to get publications, right? To get your article to get published. Okay, what are the things that you need to do basically? So that is why I say read, read, and read, both good and bad as well. Because when you're actually reading your references, okay, when you're collecting references, okay, I know that you can able to distinguish which one is good and bad, right? Right. I know that already. So you must actually know, all right? So take the good and learn from the bad. Okay, so you know this is a bad journal, bad, not that, I wouldn't say bad, but bad in terms of the way of writing. Okay, but still can be published, right? Some of the things can be published. It depends on the journal quality as well, right? So in this particular terms, all right, you can see here that both good and bad can actually give you a lot of lessons, right? So follow the good and learn from the bad, okay, so that you can improve your writing skills. So be objective on your work, right? So don't beating around the bush when you actually write research article. So if this is the objective, straight go to the objective. Okay, this is the study that I'm going to do. Okay, don't beating around the bush, because like you are doing in your thesis. Because in your thesis you can actually bring the historical thing first, then you do a lot of story, then you can come to the problem. It is okay because that is the thesis. But when it comes to research article, it must be very brief, right? So that's why it must be objective. Mostly, if you are actually writing your article in English, make sure you proofread before you submit, right? If your article got rejected for the first time, yes, accept it. All right, accept it with an open heart. Okay, you may cry for one whole day. Okay, then after that, the next day, you actually revise the article and submit to another journal. Yeah, all right. Okay. Then, if someone asks you, okay, be a reviewer, please be a reviewer. Okay, sometimes the supervisor have become the chief editor of a journal, for example. All right, they ask you to become a reviewer. Just go. Okay, take that job, because you will see, you can learn a lot of style of writing, and you can actually write better when you become a reviewer. Right? Then choose the journal before write. This is very important. All right. So when you actually want to publish an article, when you want to write an article, choose the journal that you're going to submit. So it will be better for you to do this way. Why? Because you can know what type of article that they will accept first. Secondly, you already know how the style of writing that the journal is actually accepting. So you can follow their ways, right? So it will be easier for you. Okay, it will be easier for you, right? So this is the rules of getting published. Yeah? So these are the few tips that I can give you in order for your article get accepted, basically. Okay, choose the right journal. As I already told you, choose before you write. Follow the correct format, because as you know, if your format is wrong, not because of the content, just because of the format, then the paper can be rejected. So we want to avoid rejection, so we have to follow the correct format. Make sure the context of the study is well explained, right? Revise and resubmit. Do not ever give up. This is the tips that I can give, right? So in order for you to become a good, as I already told you, a good writer, right, and a good researcher, do not ever give up, right? Even someone actually say, hey, reject, okay, you just don't give up. Try hard, for sure you will. Okay, be successful in publishing your article in a Scopus level or Web of Science level of index journal. All right, so this is what you should. All right, so usually we as a researcher, we have a problem what we call as the writer block. Right, so that is why it is important to know how to overcome it. So you have to set realistic goals and monitor the extent to which you achieve them. Okay, so you have to set a realistic goal. You know that today you have a class. Then you said, I will finish my introduction today. Then that is not the way of setting a realistic goal. At least 2 sentences of the introduction is already enough per day. Okay, at the end of the month, you already have 1 full paper actually. Right? So So this is the realistic goal that you need to set. Okay, you have to set. Dedicated a writing time. All right. So always have dedicated writing time. Start small and do a collaborative writing. All right. So as a PhD and master students here, okay, try to actually engage with your seniors, right, or your friends in the same study area, and you can do a collaborative writing as well. Okay, to make sure that you actually get used on writing research articles more and more, so that you can actually continuing it. Okay, you can continuing it and writing it after your PhD and or your masters as well. Right. So this is the writer's blocks things, and this is how to overcome it. All right. So let me just go through. Actually, I have to go through the VIVA voice preparation right now. But let me just go through a few questions that you may ask me. Okay. Right. It's the references. I already told that. Okay. So someone asked me just now. Okay, Madam Janaki asked me, I intend to investigate digitally assist vocabulary learning strategy employed by post-secondary students of various gender and ethnicity. Is it a descriptive case studies? All right, Madam, it is highly depends on your research question. Right, by looking at your title, okay, I'm not able to identify whether it's a descriptive studies or is it an explanatory or it is a exploratory. Why? Because I'm not sure, right, whether you are going to actually just look into the impact of the vocabulary learning strategies that you have going to employ. Okay, you're going to develop something, right? You're going to develop digitally assist vocabulary learning, right? Okay, then you're going to bring it to the students, right? So that will be, if that is the only thing that you're going to do, then it is a descriptive, right? Descriptive case study. Otherwise, all right, I have to look into your research question, right? Whether you are actually going for your research design is basically more on quantitative plus qualitative. Is it quantitative only and so on? So this is where I need to find your research question. But just at the surface level, I can say this is a descriptive case study, but highly depends on what type of a case study that you're going to do, right? Who's your sample and sample, right? I would like to see that also, right? But I would say this is basically more towards experimental, right? Investigate digital assets because you have some intervention here, all right? So I need to look into the research questions as well before I can come to the conclusion. Yeah, I'm worried that I cannot answer your question right now. But at the very surface level, yes, it can be a descriptive, right? Okay, all right. Sheikh Azman asked me, sir, okay, professor, basically case study doesn't solve the problem, but identify the problem. Okay, identifying what is the problem. Okay, yes, correct. You are right, sir, right? But that is why I'm asking you, that at the PhD level, you not just come with a problem, but you must come with some kind of a proposal, okay, to solve the problem. So that is why at your final objective, you can have like a guideline or framework that actually going to solve that particular problem that you have identified. All right? So hope that I answered your question. I missed out a few things just now. Can I produce product like model from the result of the case study? Yes, you can do that. All right. That is why Isma Izaili, madam, I would say that to you that if you want to actually come with some kind of a product, module, or model, and so on, all right, do not actually whenever your problem is very strong, okay, strong problem, then you're going to strictly go for a what we call some kind of a intervention thing through the development of your model or module or whatever tools that you're going to develop. Because case study here, it is you have to go very deep. You must come with the problem. Then only you want to solve the want to produce the product and so on. It will take some time. So I'm worrying that your GOT, if you are going for this kind of a mechanism. So avoid that, because if you have already in your mind that you are actually trying to develop something, then make sure that your problem statement, the issues that you're going to do, have a strong evidences and have a it is justified well, right? Then you can avoid of getting the problem from the case study. All right, so you don't need to do another one more case study just to prove the problem. Okay, so hope that I answered your question. Right, so PhD level is a concern of the sample and location. All right, so it all depends on the quantum of the work that you're going to do. It is not about the sample size or the location. No. Okay, so that's why I say, when you're actually going to do a case study, just by compared to rural location, is it going to actually answer your question of your problem or not? Okay, that is one that you need to answer of yourself. Okay, you have to discuss with your supervisor. If just by comparing these two rural locations, because maybe you are trying to look into maybe amongst the people, students from a certain geographical area, right? That is maybe staying nearby the river. Okay, example. Then that can be only two locations. Doesn't matter, but you have to go deep study on that. Okay, that will be fine. But let's say you are actually going for a study that is looking into a very general scope of location. Then just a rural location, then just two rural location in different state might be a questionable. Okay, because as I already told you, it is highly depends on the sample. Second is the depth of the study. So then you have to track back to the problems that you have mentioned just now. All right, you have to track back to the problem that you have mentioned, whether this two rural location is enough or not. If not, then you have to expand it, right? So please do not determine, okay, any number of sample, any geographical locations and so on by putting this is PhD level, this is master level. Do not do that. This is very wrong thing. Okay, it will be very wrong if you put in that way, right? So do not quantify masters and PhD, but quantify in terms of the problem statement, quantify in terms of your research question and objective. If that fits within just these two rural location, then go for it. Okay, madam? So I really hope that I answer your question. Because most of us having this particular problem. All right? If PhD means it must be 6 objective. If masters mean it must be 3 objective. No such thing. All right? No such thing in this world is quantifying, all right, whether you are doing masters or PhD, highly depends on the number of objective and number of, a sample and so on. No. Okay, it is, I already told you, it's about the problem, about the research questions that you're going through. Right? If you're answering that, then that's it. Okay? The only thing from my understanding that actually going to differ masters and PhD is on the masters will be looking more towards the practical implication, while PhD must talk about theoretical implication plus practical implication that will be leading towards new branch of knowledge. All right, so that is how you should put in your mind. Okay, madam. All right, so don't I address you as a madam. I'm very sorry, Aaron. Okay, so Aaron, so do not quantify that. Okay, sorry, Aaron. So that's the thing. Uh, so many things on the kedatangan. Okay, okay, just bear with me, because I have so many things have to do it there. Right? Okay, let me see here. Muhammad Asnan asked me, can we write and publish our own article even we not in the study hall? I mean, we have already finished our master's in study, already posting to school, we can do it. Yes, for sure. Because as you can see, let's say you are actually, your study area is in counseling, all right? So your study during your PhD or master's can be looking into counseling, some kind of sample that is concentrated on in Johor, for example, or in Perak. But you are actually teaching in school in Bantan, for example, Asnan, right? So if that is the case, then actually you can start to do the same kind of a model that you use, right, in the context of Kelantan students. Okay, that can be one article, right? So that can be one research, a specific research, one specific case study for Kelantan students, all right? So that is why I meant, okay. So you can still do it that, okay, although you're not in study mode. So you will be asking me then, all right, what affiliation that I can use, right? So you should use Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. That is your affiliation. Okay, right now they say you are in University Putra Malaysia. Then you have to put University Putra Malaysia as your affiliation. But after you finish your PhD, you're going back as a teacher, teaching, and you're doing some kind of research within your school and so on. Then you want to publish an article, then your affiliation will be Kementerian Pendidikan. Alright? Okay? So, still you have to do research when you're writing article. Unless you're doing a concept paper, alright, you can do some literature analysis, then you can produce another article as well. Okay? Alright, Asnan? I hope that I answered your question. Okay? How many citation references for writing? Okay? This highly depends, okay, what kind of a study that you are doing. Nur Hasana, is all highly depends on what kind of study that you're doing and so on. Right? So it is not that more is better, because sometimes you will be just putting all the things in that particular article. So it is not the way. Right? So that's why I said the citation should be well balanced, relevant, only relevant, and it must be recent. Right? Except for theory and model. Research publication. It is permitted to write research based on thesis dissertation, or it can be written based on chapter. Okay. It should be written depends on your research article. Okay, let's say research article, then it must be depends on the overall thesis, because in research article it must start with introduction, results, discussion, methodology, right? So it's the overall thesis. But let's say you are going for a concept paper, because concept paper will be more towards literature analysis. The same thing go for SLR, systematic literature review. So it will be more concentrating on chapter 1 and chapter 2. Right? So this is the answer for your question. Yes, you should start first. Okay. Sorry, just for a while. Okay, Ahmad Shafi asked, said that each seminar has a different requirements for the respective writing. I'm not sure what requirement that you are saying, but perhaps the types of research articles. Okay, type of article, yes. There's some conferences they only accept conferences, or some journals, for example, they can accept both. Some, as I know, some journal only accept research article only. So if you go and write concept paper and submit to them, it will be rejected. So you must go to the website of the journal and check what kind of a article that they will accept. What is the acceptable ideal duration of writing? See, it all depends on your time. Okay, so that's why I say when you're doing your research okay, right now you are in a research mode. Do not write any article yet. But after you finish your chapter 2 writing, then you can start to do parallelly. That means your research, okay, go for a chapter 3, searching for methodology, research design, and so on. Boom. Parallelly, you can start writing your concept paper or systematic literature review. So ideally, basically, I would say you should spend some time, right, like 1 hour or 2 hours a day to write an article, right? And some of you say, can we have a copy of the slide? If I'm mistaken, I already give the copy of the slide to the organizer. Okay, you can get from them. Right? A bit confused with one research article for concept paper, one research article for systematic. Concept paper is our dissertation chapter, right? So where can be research? Where can the research article get its results if only involved? No, I don't say research article is chapter 1 and chapter 2. Research article, once you already have the findings. Okay, concept paper is another type of article. Okay, another type of article. It is not research article, right? So another type of article, concept paper or systematic literature review, which you can start to do when you already have chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay, Okay, Sunji. Okay, Okay. Some of you say, can I go for the Grammarly? Yes, for sure, you can do that. And some of you ask about the impact factor and the Chicago thing. Okay, impact factor only of science journals have a impact factor. Chicago is for Scopus journal. Right? Okay, so I think I can start to go for this question. So many questions is coming up. But, I think let me just go through the VIVA thing first, all right, before we can go for a few more questions. Because 4:30 must be finished. Otherwise, the organizer will be, stop me. All right. Okay, so VIVA was preparation. So, as you know that, VIVA is the end point of your academic journey, right? So, highly depends whether what is the results of your VIVA. Unfortunately, I have seen I have been a chairperson for many VIVA. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to announce. Okay. Sometimes I feel so much. Okay. Sadness and so on. I have to announce that particular student failed their VIVA. All right. So I don't want that to be happen to anyone here. If God willing, it won't happen to all of you here. All right. So hopefully that you have prepared well for your PhD or your master's VIVA. Right. So VIVA is the end point for your academic journey and can be most the dreaded part for sure. All right. So what is it and what should you do make so that usually, as you can see in VIVA, there will be one chairperson, 2 to 3 examiners, depends whether internal and external, and one representative of the faculty. So usually the examiners depends on the PhD or masters. PhD usually have 2 external and 1 internal examiner. Masters, 1 internal and 1 external examiner. Alright? So supervisor and post-supervisor can only observe and take note. They cannot communicate with you at all. Alright? They cannot actually help you, they cannot give you any kind of a sign or whatever. No. Alright? So they just take note and observe that. Right? Because in VIVA, you are the only one. Okay? With these 3 people or 2. Right? So that's it. So usually you will be having 20 to 30 minutes presentation followed by Q&A. Okay, by the examiner. So what examiner often do is go through your thesis chapter by chapter, asking questions and discussing with you aspects of your work along the way. Alright? So it highly depends on the chairperson. So the chairperson sometimes will say, okay, we go through chapter by chapter. So usually when it comes to chapter by chapter, the examiner will go through the technicality of the writing. Alright? So they may actually comment about the figure, they may comment about the statement that you put in the thesis and so on. Right? So that will be the things that you may confront with. And when they ask about that particular statements and so on, they will be also asking fundamental questions. For example, how do you actually write this problem statement? Alright? What kind of gaps that you actually got from this problem statement? So they will ask that kind of a fundamental questions as they go through the chapter by chapter. And usually go by chapter usually. So prior to the VIVA, alright, so sometimes the examiner will take turns to ask questions and so on, alright, and so on. So prior to the VIVA, both of your examiners will have the read through of your thesis. So written an independent report so they can make use of it and approximately what outcome they think that should be give you. Alright. So usually the chairperson and the examiners already know. Okay, they will having a one simple meeting first before the VIVA. So they already said, okay, let us go through this VIVA before we can proceed for the Q&A. Then we can go to the verdict. And I, as a chairperson, I have encountered one VIVA whereby we stop the student from go for VIVA. Okay? We actually stop the student. Okay, the student not fit to go for a VIVA. Right? We have that kind of a decision as well. Right? So this is the thing that that you have to be prepared yourself like that. Alright? So must so please be careful. So why VIVA walk? Okay, why we need VIVA? So because VIVA is basically to confirm whether you are the one who actually did this research. Right? So if you are asking questions, you are not able to relate that particular thing with your thesis, with your knowledge that you have, then something is wrong. Right? So to confirm whether you are the one who actually do this research, to confirm that you have appropriate knowledge, all right, in that particular study area. That is one. Then, for sure, VIVA is also to improve in terms of the writing of your thesis. Okay? Usually, we, the supervisor and the student, might have only 2 brains, right? Is working right now. So when we have examiners from a different perspective, they will actually give from different point of views. That will be helpful as well, right? So to improve that particular thesis writing. Then convey whose message? Conveys examiner's message. Examiners want that particular thesis in this particular way, right? So that is also the platform for VIVA to be happened, right? So this is where confirm chairperson that I have went through is 5 hours. All right, 5 hours. 5 hours of VIVA. Okay, and we came to the conclusion that the students failed that particular VIVA. All right, so that it can be done. Right. So please make sure. All right. So please make sure you have a proper, all right, preparation. All right, preparation. Make sure you are the one who actually do the thesis properly. And right. Okay. So what are the list of common questions during VIVA? Right. So basically, they will ask about what you have learned from your work. Right. Why did you conduct this study? Basically, they will ask the question like, so what? So what? So that is why I'm asking you to have a strong problem statement so that you can answer the so what question. Right? Then what are the contributions in terms of practical and theoretical? Right? So if you are PhD level, they will very much focus on theoretical, right? Contribution. But you can ask me, sir, then masters no need to have theoretical framework. Yes, you should have theoretical framework. But in your discussion, you can have theoretical discussion, but not that deep, like PhD. Right? So, okay, that is going to be the differences. Then what are the limitations and how you control it? So this is where the methodology part, you must be very careful. Right? So when they ask the limitation, how you control the biasness, how you control the limitations, these are the common questions they will be asking. Right? Then they will be asking, choose a certain research design and so on. Right? Then questions related to methodology. They focus on the sample selection, validity, and reliability. Right? So why they actually concentrate on the validity and reliability and also the selection of the sample? Because these three things is going to determine the validity of your finding. Alright, if these three things fail, that means whatever bombastic findings that you got is all just zero. Right? So that is why in methodological part, when you are doing your research, be careful when you are actually doing your validation and reliability. Okay, for study. Okay, for your study, make sure the validity and reliability is properly done. Right? Because whatever bombastic finding you got, but you have failed in validity or reliability and both of them, that's it, finish. Abyss. Okay? And one thing happened, okay, I just share my experience as a chairperson for one student. This particular student, candidate, all right, happened to use the sample of the pilot study, the sample that he used for the pilot study for the real study as well. That's it, finish. Okay, the examiner said finish, that's it, finish. We stop the VIVA, fail. That's it. Okay? You see, this can happen. So, what is the wrong thing here? You cannot use the sample from your pilot study as a sample for your pre-study, for your real study. All right? So, this is what you have to be very careful. All right. So, they will be asking about the future works and way forward as well. And for sure, all right, 5 hours, why fail? I cannot tell much about it. Okay, it is because of the overall study pattern. Okay. I just explain like this. In the chapter 1, the research question totally different from the chapter 4 and chapter 5 discussion. That is why it took 5 hours and we failed the student. Okay, hope you get the point here. All right. So what it means? It means that the student actually not the one who wrote that particular thesis. All right. So you have to be careful. All right. Because sometimes we used to take so much of a shortcuts, right? So do not do that. And technicality of the thesis writing. Okay, technicality of the thesis writing is also a part of the common questions during VIVA, but it is not a very big deal, right? So that won't be a problem, right? So please make sure that you are able to answer a few common questions here, and you are well prepared for your VIVA, right? So what are the tips that I can share with you from my experience here? First of all, bring along your copy of your thesis. This happened, a few students, okay, they didn't bring the thesis, that is very, 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 okay, and the supervisor have to pinjam that thesis to the student, all right, and make sure, all right, each chapter marked. That means you, not that during that time, you actually go and flip through all the thesis, because as I know, your thesis will be like this particular thing, all right. So each chapter is marked, so that it's easier for you to flip. Then it can be very nervous, so practice calmness, right? So do some yoga as well, all right, before you go for a VIVA. Okay, breathing exercise and so on. Okay, it highly depends on the voice of the examiner and him or herself, all right. Some voice can be very intimidating voice, right? Right. Now I'm in the mode of presenting. So my presentation mode will be different from asking question mode. All right. So you have to be very careful. Okay. Then please do not answer short. That is very important. Don't say yes, no, okay, 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 no. All right. So you have to elaborate within the knowledge and your experience, right? So you need to elaborate. Okay, yes, I chose random sampling because of what? You have to elaborate it. And that particular statement, it must be same as what you put in the thesis. Do not say one thing in the thesis, say another thing in your presentation slide, right? This also happened. Okay, you say one thing in thesis, say another thing in the presentation slide, and say another thing during your Q&A. That's it, finish. All right. So make sure. All right. Then do not confuse the examiners with your answer. Okay, and do not bring new ideas. This is where I think some of you mentioned just now. Jangan goreng sampai hangit. Okay, that is what we call it as a do not confuse the examiner. Right? So don't bring any new ideas here. Stick to the problem statement, research question, research objective. This is the things that you need to always focus. Do not bring new things. The examiners might actually try to, try to actually make you answer wrongly. Okay, instigate you to actually go for a different thing. But do not do that. Just straightly go to the point. All right? Just always. All right? So they try to provoke you to do something that they come with the new ideas and so. No. Okay? Just say this is my objective, this is my problem statement, and this is my research question. That's all. Always stick into that. Right? So always remember, you are the expert that you actually done that particular study. Right? So be confident. Right? Be confident. Then do not, right? So do not be too defensive, right? You can defend, but do not be so defensive until you bring the dignity of the examiner down. That's the time you are in the trouble, right? So you can defend, but defend politely, defend with some kind of a manners, right? So that is how I will advise all of you to do. All right? Then always thank for the comments and sorry if you cannot answer the question. All right? So this is where sometimes the examiner will ask you, all right, why not you do this? Why not you do that? You don't just say, okay, I will improve my thesis. That's it, finish. Your PhD is not going to end because your PhD is a specific topic that to be discussed, a specific problem that you want to actually explore. But you cannot just simply come and take a different, examiner's point of view. Cannot. You have to explain to them my study is focusing on this particular specific issue, your point of view will be taken in my future work. That is how you should answer. All right. So when they actually come with a new idea, all right. Some of the examiners, sometimes, I'm also as the chairperson. Some things I feel like, my God, why like this kind of examiners exist in this world? All right. They want to actually impose their own idea. Why not you do this kind of a research? Why not you, you do some kind of effectiveness test? But okay, as a candidate, okay, as a PhD student, okay, as the one who actually do that particular research, you shouldn't just say, okay, I will do the effectiveness test. No, you should say, okay, according to my problem, these are the things. According to my research question, these are the things. But effectiveness test will be taken into consideration in my future work. Millions of thanks for your valuable comment. Boom, that's it. This is how you should get it. All right. So this is how you should do it. All right. Okay. So this is how you should be very confident. Okay. Be calm and so on. All right. When you are doing your VIVA. Okay. You're still not going to that thing yet, but I think that the tips that I have given you here might be helpful for you. Right? Might be helpful. So with that, I would like to thank all of you. Before that, I would like to also do the so-called stop sharing. Let me stop sharing. Let me go through the chat box. Is it possible?
Doctor,
Yeah.
is it possible we open the question?
Yes,
Sure.
I'm actually. Yes, I'm actually going through the chat box here. Boleh ke?
Can, Doctor.
Okay, saya go through the chat box here.
Or we want to hear their voice?
Yes.
Can, yes.
Yes. It is good to hear.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone of you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. I will open your mic. Encik Azmizan Abdul Rahman.
Baik, selamat petang, Prof. Doktor.
Yeah.
I'm Azmizan from Kedah. I would like to ask a few questions here. If my research is about the DDR, research and development, on the few modules or lesson modules, on the few variables. So for the problem statement, I should focus on the lesson model or the variable that I like to study, such as literation or communication or academic achievement.
Okay, very good question. The problem statement should be focusing on what your module is going to solve. Problem. What problem is the module is going to solve? Right? Why you actually, okay, kenapa cikgu, can I panggil you Cikgu Azmiza?
Yes, can.
Boleh Okay. So, basically, kenapa perlu ada satu modul itu? Kenapa? Okay. Jadi, macam seperti yang cikgu terangkan tadi, dia disebabkan oleh apa communication kan? Apa lagi
Pada contoh, if I like to develop a module, focus on improving the communication skills,
Yes.
Academic achievement, or literation on the topic.
Yeah.
So, in the problem segment, I like to focus on the module itself, or I like to focus on the variable that I like to study.
You have to focus on the variable, sir. Then you have to come with the proposed solution. You have to actually propose a solution that you're going to give, all right, in the problem statement through the module. All right, so you must mention that, okay, we do have a problem with communication. We have a problem with the academic achievement. We have a problem with the literacy. So these three things can be solved through a module. Go. All right, so you are actually, that's how you should write your problem statement. You must focus in these three things big, then you will come with the proposed solution. Then you have to justify, all right, how other people, other researchers have used module to to solve the problem for communication, for literacy, for academic performance. Faham kan?
So, fokus kepada tiga variable tersebut, kaitkan dengan modul yang akan disediakan.
Yes. Lepas tu kena justify. Okay, kena justify bagaimana modul itu dapat mengatasi masalah yang cikgu telah nyatakan tadi.
From Dr.
No worries. Sama-sama.
Dr. maybe last question.
Yes. Sorry for 30 something kan.
Okay. I will invite Encik Asbullah Idris.
Good evening, Prof. I have several questions to ask you. First and foremost, my research is about to do a model on information literacy, which is I'm going to see the practice among the PGB after they completed their MPQL 2.0 version. So I'd like to ask you, if you like to modify a model that, for instance, that is the existing models, but can I improve the model as to be, is that it's going to be a level of PhD? And then the second question is that how do we determine if the journal is a predatory journal? Because we are very scarce about the resources that are going to use in our thesis. And number three, the final question is based on the VIVA. Okay, VIVA will say, I want to ask if the candidate use, for instance, in their presentation, they mentioned about they are going to use a purpose sampling, but unfortunately, they also make an inferential statistics test in the thesis. Is that going a major correction or fail? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Let me answer the first one. You want to develop a model to improve the existing model, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, is it a PhD level? It can be a PhD level when you are actually test that particular model, right? When you test a particular model in a few variables, which you will be linked with some theory, leadership theory and so on.
Yes.
All right? Then that will be a PhD level.
Okay. And then one more, Prof. Could we use more than one model for our study?
Yes, can. Okay. That is another issue also. Different people have a different school of thoughts, of point of view here. They will say, oh no, cannot, only can use one or two. Okay. But actually you can use more than one theory and one model for your study. That is highly depends on the variables that you're going to do, plus the context of the study.
Thank you, Prof.
So in this case, leadership theories related to leadership theories and so on. Okay. So you have to test it and you have to link that with some theory, then it should be good enough. Alright? You are talking about predatory journals. Yes, there's a lot of predatory journals. So what is predatory journals? Predatory journals is that when it is not, when they actually do a lot of false information in the website. Right? So because, for example, when they actually say there is have the impact factor, but impact factor only given to Web of Science journal. Right? They are not saying they are Web of Science journal, but they are putting impact factor in their website. Then that is the predatory journal. Then you may get some emails mentioning that, okay, your acceptance, your paper, once you submit, the article will be accepted within 3 days or 2 days. Or they say immediate acceptance. That is what we call as the predatory journal. Alright? So this is the ways. Alright? So you may, some of them will say, oh, if you pay money, within 2 days it will be accepted. This is also a predatory journal. Alright? So that is the predatory journal. And come to the VIVA thing. Alright? When you actually use a wrong statistical analysis, right, for a certain thing, depends on the examiner. Some examiner, they say, okay, go for major correction, come for re-viva. Okay, they won't fail it, right? Because there can be some technical error in terms of the chosen samplings and so on. Okay, some of them say just change the sampling method. Just change the sampling method. Then they put that it as a major revision. All right. If you, unfortunately, let's say you get a very, very tough examiners, then it should be a fail. Why? Because for sure, your sampling, it is not in line with your statistical analysis, so your findings is zero, right? Yes. All right. So that's the thing. This highly depends on the examiners as well. All right.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, I answered all your questions, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, before we wrap up, maybe the last word from Doctor. To give
Yes,
some advice or motivation to all of teachers.
Okay, thank you, Encik Najmi. I think I like to say to all of you that good luck, and hopefully you all can get your masters and PhD. All right, within the time frame that's set by KPM. All right, so follow my advice for article publication. All right, write a concept paper in your semester 1 and semester 2, so that you can get your GOT on time. All right, within the time frame. So you don't need to go at least you get it. Actually, you don't need to go for semester 7 at all. Right? So semester 7 is just masa simpanan. Okay, extra time actually. All right, it shouldn't be. Okay, so with that, I will end my presentation here. Okay, so all the best to all of you. Thank you very much, Encik Najmi and KPM, to give me this opportunity to share my knowledge and skills to the other, to all the candidates for HLP. Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, majlis merakakan ucapan terima kasih yang tidak terhingga kepada Profesor Madya Teknologis Dr. Bala Muralitra, anak lelaki Bala Krishnan atas sesi taklimat dan perkongsian yang sungguh bermanfaat seperti tadi. Semoga dengan input yang diberikan dapat membantu tuan-tuan dan puan-puan dalam sepanjang pengajian. Sebelum tu saya nak memohon kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, sekiranya tuan-puan masih lagi menggunakan email di jabatan, mohon email rasmi tu mohon tuan-puan untuk create satu email yang mana apabila tuan-puan semasa cuti belajar ni, email tersebut tidak boleh digunakan lagi. Jadi tuan-puan dimohon untuk create email baru supaya dalam tempoh cuti belajar tu kami dapat menghubungi tuan-puan melalui email tersebut. Sekian harap maklum, dan saya mohon ampun dan maaf sekiranya sepanjang saya mengendalikan taklimat ini ada salah dan silap. Yang baik itu datang dari Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala dan yang lemah itu datang daripada diri saya sendiri. Dengan itu, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you once again, Doctor.